Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Lalit Rao and I welcome you to Philosophy Network channel on YouTube. In this latest video, I'm going to discuss about French philosopher Paul Ricoeur, who was born on 27th February 1913 and who died on 20th May 2005. French existentialist, hermeneuticist, literary critic, phenomenologist, and theologian Paul Ricoeur was one of the main exponents of philosophical hermeneutics. In the early stage of his career, Ricoeur was influenced by philosophers such as Gabriel Marcel, Karl Jaspers, Heidegger, Hegel, and Kant. Hermeneutics refers to a philosophical orientation which places particular emphasis on the nature and role of interpretation. Ricoeur's early work was strongly influenced by the German philosopher Husserl's phenomenology. In his later writings, he explored the nature of metaphor and narrative, both of which are viewed as ways of creating new meaning in language. Ricoeur worked on problems of interpretation and, thanks to detailed inquiries into psychoanalysis and structuralism, he developed a distinctive hermeneutical theory. Among Paul Ricoeur's well-known works, one can easily cite names such as Freedom and Nature, Le Volontaire et l'Involontaire, The Voluntary and the Involuntary, which was published in 1950, Freud and Philosophy, an Essay of Interpretation, Essay in Hermeneutics, The Role of the Metaphor, Time and Narrative, Oneself as Another, Multidisciplinary Studies of the Creation of Meaning in Language, containing tension between faith and reason, figure largely in Ricoeur's work. As a theorist of symbolic forms since the 1950s, Paul Ricoeur has worked on the conflict of interpretations that arose in various schools of literary critical theory, hermeneutics, and linguistics. The debate between phenomenology and structuralism can be found primarily in his early writings. On the one hand, the phenomenological strand sought to interpret language in its creative, artistic, metaphorical, symbolic manifestations. On the other hand, the structuralist approach assumed a formal methodology which, influenced by the great Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, took for granted the priority of code and system over expressive content. One key idea which emerges from his works refers to the fact that all interpretations share a double, both negative as well as positive hermeneutics. Ricoeur has remained critical of structuralism and post-structuralism for their relentlessly negative stance with regard to questions of meaning, subjectivity, and truth. According to him, we must turn to the text to embark on our comprehension of both fiction and history. This can be done by understanding its plot as guideline if we are to comprehend experience of any reflective sort. Ricoeur stressed that in the end there are no epistemological or metaphysical grounds by which meaning can be verified. In his later work, Paul Ricoeur rejected easy skepticism, foundationalism, nihilism, and phenomenology. In Ricoeur's works, through a sort of interdependent dialectic which goes beyond the more mechanical models of Hegelianism or Marxism, the self understands itself and is understood by others in terms of its suffering and its moral actions. Lastly, Paul Ricoeur has been hailed as one of the most important French philosophers of recent times. Among his admirers, one can mention the name of the current French President Emmanuel Macron, who had the honor of working for 2 years with Paul Ricoeur. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a short introduction about Paul Ricoeur. Thank you very much for having watched this video.